that Spain and Northern Africa and Morocco and that part of the country or our part of the world really has. So that's one of the things where I think that it will continue to stay as that cultural center. But yeah, it's been around for a long time. So from what I understand,
I never realized
originally it was more of a music festival, but it was like you get enough people together, it was tolerated, and then it kind of moved into more of a cannabis festival. And at this point, though, it's, I mean, and you know, Nick, you know how it is. I mean, yeah, you got the major nutrient companies and whatnot, but then it's a ton of like.
We're Jug Dealers, we're the podcast you need in your feed, teaching the game like you never seen. Jerin, Gabe, GRAMBO, true OGs, masters of the globe, set your mind free. From Denver, Colorado, where the dead is green. We set the data points for the SOPs. Jug Dealers Podcast, yes indeed.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jug Dealers Podcast, where we discuss all things cannabis and lifestyle related, brought to you by the good people at 5-8 and now available at jugdealers.net and jugdealers.shop. It is good to be back in studio after some time on the road.
Yeah. Still a little road weary. Hit what was it, 9 states and a territory on a 2-week run. So
you went all places everywhere.
Yeah. So it was a good trip.
The entire East Coast. It was craziness.
Yeah, literally. So it's good to be back, though. It's good to be back in studio. If you guys are looking for samples, I always want to remind you can go check us out at jugdealers.net/samples as well and fill out a grower's form and request some of the lovely things that we talk about on the show and that you see behind us.
Understand, with us being on the road, we can be a little behind sometimes. It's
I'm
literally
glad you make that.
It's me and Jerin kind of answering your stuff and kind of pushing it through the
pipeline,
yes.
if you will.
So it does end up taking a little while. Don't get upset. We're doing our best. But again, when we're on the road, we're not really looking at the computers, but
obviously, we've got somebody very special.
We got some big stuff coming up because we're going to Spain, but ultimately, we wanted to talk to the man who's spent a lot of time in Spain, throughout the years, DJing, judging, all kinds of different things. Today in studio, we have DJ Nikka.
Welcome back. Good to have you in studio.
Second time on the show, dude. It's good to have you back.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate being here. Thanks for putting me on, and excited to talk to y'all about Spain because it's a blessing to get invited to come out.
Yeah, we were thinking about it, and we were like, let's have Nick back in studio. Let's do it at the right time. Let's do like a little bit of Nikka T's guide to Barcelona, because obviously, you're in the music scene there. You're always doing a lot of the events there, a lot of the pre and during events. I know you go out there as early as you're going on the 7th this year, and the event doesn't even start until the 14th, 15th.
Yeah. But
so,
he's got how many other events beforehand even going? You got
I got a nice easy schedule this year. To be honest, last year I booked 9 events in 7 days.
Wow. Wow, that was busy. But for those of you that don't know, there's a lot that goes on, not only at Cannabis, but really around Cannabis, both the weekend before, during the week of, and then of course it's a world renowned spot for eating, drinking, being merry, the smoking clubs, all that. So yeah, we kind of figured why not bring in an expert on the subject.
When was your first time in Barcelona?
Ooh, I'm really bad at.
Because I know you said you were with Soma in Amsterdam when you were like 16.
6 years ago or something.
Okay.
7 years ago was my first time in Barcelona, I believe.
Nice.
My little brother lived there probably 10 years ago or something.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I always wanted to get out there, but I don't think I made it over till like probably 6-7 years ago now.
Nice. So what's your experience in the Barcelona cannabis scene, man?
Really, it reminds me of Amsterdam back in the day when you could go to Barney's or you could go to a coffee shop and consume and eat a nice breakfast at the same time and maybe even have a beer afterwards. You know what I mean? And so like the ability to eat good food, drink, and consume is something that I really look for. And I think,
more like a lifestyle experience.
Yeah,
just like
it's a culture. And
okay.
So when, Barcelona really started popping off for us anyways, I'd say like 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago, it was that type of energy. You could go into a coffee shop or a social club and you could order food, you could order a beverage, you could smoke, you could watch a sports game if that's what you're into. You could watch educational videos, you could watch a demonstration.
Yep.
You know, it's so it's kind of above and beyond what Amsterdam was back in the day, but I like to compare it to that just because it's a rare place in the world right now where you can go and consume cannabis, you can eat food and drink alcohol.
Yeah.
I think Thailand's one of the only other spots right now. And there's like few spots, and we're starting to see it more and more as social clubs open up and that licensing structure opens up. And I hear it's coming to New Jersey. I mean, we've got a nice social club here. I'm going to be DJing on Saturday night. So
yeah, and I always called it the trifecta, and it's the trifecta is rare: eating, smoking, and being able to consume alcohol. And obviously, we're not talking a full bar here, folks, but you know, it is there is a culture of consumption in Spain specifically. You know, whether it's wine or beer or whatever. I mean, they definitely know how to drink and enjoy their beverages. But yeah, that was one of the things that when I first went there was so unique was. You could do all three, and they've changed a little bit, over time. I guess, as far as like having full menus and stuff of food, it's a little bit more like hoodless kitchen style stuff, whatever. But the reality is the trifecta still lives there, and it's very rare outside of Spain. So that's one of the things I definitely like the most about it. But it's also more contained, right? Because of the whole club aspect, as opposed to Amsterdam, for example, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's just, I feel like a little step up. You see a little bit higher end clubs, social clubs, but at the same time, social clubs are getting raided every single day in Barcelona, especially when the Americans come out for cannabis. It becomes a real hot time. So you have to be really, really careful what you're doing, how much you're carrying on you,
Yep. And for those of you that don't know,
drive, don't rent a car.
Don't rent a car. You don't need to
rent a car.
You don't need to.
Why? Because they'll pull you over? Or
it's the most common reason I hear that people get in trouble. Pull you over. They give you like a DWI or whatever, smoking while, that's something like that. And it has to you have to come back to Spain for court. And a few friends deal with it.
Yeah.
Now.
You don't want to do that. For those of you that don't know too, it is on a club model, right? So you're supposed to buy and consume whatever you buy within that club.
And you're not buying.
You're part of the club. You're donating. Yeah. There's a whole whatever. But if you leave with it, you are absolutely, you can be stopped. You can be arrested for it. And that is, that definitely happens from time to time. They'll just stand right outside of a social club, and anybody that comes out, boom, 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 boom.
You can even get hung up in a raid inside a club.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, it's a hot time right now in Barcelona, and it was last year, and it's going to continue to be.
Well, it's become, again, more and more, I remember the first year I probably went for the first time 5 years ago, and there was not a lot of familiar faces because, and when you go to events and you're regularly going to events here in the US and you're in, this scene, you see a ton of familiar faces. And I remember being the first time I was at a big event like that. And I was like, oh, I don't recognize anybody, and then now you fast forward last year and it was like, a bunch of my friends were over there from a lot of different companies. So, and I'm sure you've seen that over your tenure there, you were pretty early on it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot more familiar faces now.
Yeah. And I guess I'm in a, blessed situation where my first time out there, big up David from HQ, he brought me out and like really put me on. I feel like there was even like a cutout cartoon image of me.
I was about to ask, was your first time there for Cannabis?
Yes.
And were you DJing the first time you were there, or were you just?
I was DJing. I was hosting and judging the Masters of Rosin. So once again, big up David from HQ for really putting me on out in Barcelona. And, I had a lot of love from early on because I was educating, so a lot of the hash makers, there's a huge Italian hash maker scene in Barcelona. Okay. And a lot of those hash makers, followed me or learned from me. And now at this point, to be completely honest, I'm learning from them. Some of my favorite hash makers are the Italian family in Barcelona.
That's funny. I was going to kind of dive into that a little bit later in the conversation about how that's kind of helped you evolve some of your craft, because, you're definitely one of the dudes who has helped evolve the whole rosin process. You know, obviously you got solventless tattooed on your arm. So,
well, and there's definitely a culture of extracts, of traditional extracts that is, long standing in Spain. Obviously it's proximity to Morocco. And I remember even like I had a friend in college that, went and was over in Malaga, could get hash all over the place, but you could not find raw flour. It just at a certain point in certain places, that was almost looked at like it was unrefined. It's like, oh, whoa, you haven't got there yet. You know what I mean? So, and the hash with tobacco culture, the podo culture, the spliff culture. I mean, it's very deep seated there. So I would 100%. Think that the your end of the world and that solventless world would have been really fun to crack into at an early stage, and then also watch them really take that and make it their own and continue to progress it.
100% true with all of that. It's I learned a ton from Europe in general. Initially from Mila and Amsterdam and, just from the import export market that, I've seen from a young age. I've learned a ton. And so, I feel like it's a blessing to give back and give some of this technique. I think Mila once told me that when I kind of coined that term fresh frozen and brought that type of material into play, that was the first time, Europe had really heard of that specifically and started to like really tailor their process to that and started seeing a lot higher quality. So I feel like I've helped to bring some of that energy out there. But now today I'm learning so much from, the European market, the Spanish market, the Italians in Barcelona specifically.
Hell yeah. Talking about the social club model, what are some of your favorite social clubs that you frequent in Barcelona?
Oh man, I love HQ. La Colada is like my family at this point. It's like a skateboard reggae culture. Some of the owners are reggae DJs and MCs. Some of the owners, brought the first sound system to Spain, literally like the first Jamaican style sound system from Italy to Spain. So big up Alessio each and every time. Like that's to me, La Colada with Bobby Colada and Rude Teo and, and the rest of Jockey Revy. Sorry, I'm just like, there's so much family over there at La Colada, but it's like a family over there. It's like the skateboarding reggae community that like I've just felt at home instantly. And then there's like new clubs like Terpy. Then there's Terp's Army, the homie Lorenzo.
Lorenzo. We got some of his hash in Amsterdam and it is
and he's always held it down, as an amazing space to hold, vibes and energy, but also like the product's always been great. And Lorenzo is just a fun dude. He's a good dude. What else we got going on? We've got Wee Flowers, really specializes in some of Doc Hayes and his wife's products over there. So some of their flour and some of their hash and rosin is top notch. You've got Uncle's Farm, and like I think the La Sagrada family and Uncle's Farm, and that's kind of a cool crew over there that's really specializing in the Piatella.
Nice. I'm eager to try that when I get over there. I hear nothing but good things. So.
Definitely. What else? What other clubs do we have out in Barcelona? Social clubs. Look at my list.
No, you did quite a good job just pulling those all the time.
There's the cookies. There's the new cookies spot. And Dank Grass is another cool spot. It's out towards the marina.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Strain Hunters is right off La Rambla, which is always nice.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course.
The beautiful club. Yeah. Beautiful club down there.
I love Dust.
Yeah. Totally. Dust is the man. And those guys have always been, I used to import some of their products. So those guys have always been very welcoming over there.
Only reason it didn't just come to mind is because the last time I tried to go there, it like flooded out or something happened.
Oh, I remember that.
Couldn't even go and see Dust. So I gotta touch base with Dust.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be seeing you, Dust. Don't worry, buddy.
With places like this and with the Piatella and stuff like that, do you feel like Barcelona is becoming a global hub for some really top-notch extracts?
100%.
Absolutely.
Some of my favorite hash makers and products are in Barcelona.
I'm really looking forward to that the most because I think
And during this week, there's cool limited release drops happening at certain social clubs and stuff by certain hash artisans. And
see, this is why we brought him in, folks. Really We're trying to be on that hot drop, you know?
We want to give you all the heads up, you know? I figured you were the best guy to talk about it that I know anyway.
And I mean, why don't you speak a little bit on the Piatella, you know, for some of the people that don't know, that is kind of specific to Barcelona, Spain. Maybe if you can chat on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's new age cured heads, cured trichomes, basically. Okay. You know, it stems back to like temple ball culture in reality. So you have people storing away product.
Sure.
You know, initially it was stored like that so that it was easier to transport. It starts to get that cure, which brings out different, you know, cannabinoids and different compounds during that cure. And it really helps, you know, stabilize. I think that's the first reason for a lot of these different post-processing techniques is for stability.
Sure.
But Piatella was really popularized by Uncle's Farm and that family with La Sagrada and Slight and some of the other, you know, people making it in that crew. Because, you know, really the Italian hash makers, not to be stereotypical, but they're very particular. And I feel like that's why I like them so much and get along and see eye to eye, because I'm also really OCD.
So the Piatella is actually Italian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Italian hash makers in Barcelona.
Gotcha.
Created this technology, this term.
Okay.
And basically you're now not taking just like full spec and putting it into a ball and storing it in cellophane, you know, like Frenchie cannoli tech would be similar. You know, when I would open a Frenchie cellophane at Frenchie's house, you had this like layer of oil on the outside, you know, kind of helping to lock it in. And similar thing that we're doing with cold cure rosin, you're creating that layer of terpenes, and then rehomogenizing. And, you know, similar thing with Piatella, you're just not doing it with rosin. You're doing it with very pure heads. So, you know, freeze dried water hash basically is what you're making
mouth is watering
Piatella with. These guys are using very specific microns. It's not a full spec. They're using just 90 to 100 or 90 to 120. And it's only specific cultivars that they're really putting out there. And, you know, there's a lot of other companies right now using that term Piatella and branding it. And what I like about, you know, how the boys at Uncle's Farm really pushed it out there is it's very specific. You can't just call anything Piatella. Right. They're being extremely specific. So why is another company going to run some like stuff that turns out kind of drier and chalkier and call it Piatella? It's not. And so those guys have a hold on it, and I respect that. So big up Uncle's Farm and the family behind Piatella, the term, and it's their brand. You know, it's their brand now. So.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to trying that over in Spain for sure.
Is there anything you've taken in particular from some of these you know, these producers, these extract makers, these hash makers over there and employed into your everyday or into some of your personal SOPs? I don't know if you feel comfortable talking on that, but I'm legitimately curious.
I think Piatella is a good example, you know, because I feel like it's a very, you know, solventless in general is a small niche.
Sure.
So, you know, we're constantly educating because it's a smaller niche in the big scheme of things. It sounds like it's popular between our friends and stuff, but really it's a small niche. So Piatella is an even smaller niche because ideally you're not really supposed to dab Piatella. Piatella was meant to put it in a spliff.
Roll in the spliff. Okay. Yeah.
I was kind of wondering that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a very small niche, but we're starting to make it out here. You know, I'm not calling it Piatella. I'm calling it, you know, cured resin or, you know, ode to Piatella or respect to Piatella. You know, and like even to put it out like that, to be honest.
In my mind, just that thought of going, oh, maybe it doesn't always have to be full spectrum. So even just taking that thought process and going, well, maybe I'll, you know, process this at a very specific micron level or work with certain strains at a very specific micron. So even just using that from a thought process, you know, as opposed to maybe a super specific SOP, right?
Yeah, 100%. You know, it just guides your thought pattern more into like, okay, generally we don't want greasy cultivars because they're going to yield less in water hash, but a greasy cultivar really does well in Piatella.
Interesting.
You know, so sometimes if I want to make, you know, a Piatella like consistency is what I like to say. I'll toss some of my ghost gelato in there, even though it doesn't yield at all. It just adds that grease.
That is interesting. And now, I guess since we're, moving down that direction, what about any specific strains that are over there that might be more traditional stuff that you happen to like or come across? Yeah. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. I'd say I really like what, the Grateful Meds guys are doing, Grateful Seeds. They are crushing with the genetics. My buddy Doc Hayes and some of the pheno hunts and specific, varieties that he's bred and held on to and popped seeds of are just one of a kind. You also have the ability in Spain, you're pretty close to Morocco and other places, Valencia, where they're popping thousands, millions of seeds, so you're able to hunt a lot, wider than I feel like we are in the United States, to be completely honest. So a lot of those cats are getting beans and they're hunting on a big level. And they're coming back home to really, get the intricacies down. But in reality, it's difficult out in Spain. It's not easy to grow out there. You're either getting robbed or you're getting in trouble. It's not legal.
Right. So, right. No, it's very, very, black market. And there's also a lot of people, there's desire for it. There's a cultural aspect to it. You have people that come around the world for it. Right. But I don't think a lot of people understand that just really how it truly is there, and like you said, any given day,
anybody that things can be rated out there. My hat's off, mad respect. You know what I mean? Right.
No, it's a rough world out there. But I definitely, I find it very interesting that some of that tech that's been able to cross over and some of the stuff we've been doing in the US, I feel like they've definitely taken to it. And some of the stuff that they've gone from a traditional aspect, we've taken to it. And, kind of the extract world, the solventless world, all that, has been, I think, very interesting in the last few years in particular.
I mean, I brought cultivars out to Spain somehow, or I didn't bring it, but
they made it there.
The solventless stork brought it.
Right. The solventless stork.
Somehow he had like some hemp farm bill attached to his thing.
Somehow they materialized
his way.
In
Spain.
But
some of my things that I've grown here, my buddies in Spain fucking rock them way better. I've had way better rosin out of the Dulce de Uva than I've ever made from my buddy Slight. So,
Right. Now, how do you, like, as far as Cannabis goes, because, Cannabis is kind of wild because it really, it originated as more of a music festival way back when that a lot of people consumed.
How long has it been around? Do you know?
I want to say 25 years plus, something like that.
Oh, wow.
It's the biggest.
Well, and now, you got to figure without any high times cups anymore. Like it, and whatever's happened in the Emerald Cup in the last couple of years, like anything that was kind of the cultural epicenter, Cannabis is now that.
It is, but you also it has been for a long time. It really has. But you also have Berlin. Mary Jane just went massive last year. So like that. But that's kind of. But as far as like a long-term culture, some of the stuff that we're talking about, even with, as many people as in Germany and what they're going to do with and everything else, you don't have the cultural aspect of, hash and cannabis, et cetera, that Spain and Northern Africa and Morocco and that part of the country or part of the world really has. So that's one of the things where I think that it will continue to stay as that cultural center. But yeah, it's been around for a long time. So from what I understand,
I never realized
originally it was more of a music festival, but it was like you get enough people together, it was tolerated, and then it kind of moved into more of a cannabis festival. And at this point though, it's, I mean, and Nick, you know how it is. I mean, yeah, you got the major nutrient companies and whatnot, but then it's a ton of like smoke shop type stuff and papers, and now genetics companies. There's a bunch of beans, and now
you can't buy weed and hash there though.
No, not at the booth.
Not at the booth.
Cannabis, no.
Yeah.
Right?
No. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people there. But
Berlin, there was a ton of like HHC and Delta 8,
all kinds of wild stuff.
But there's way less of that in Spain.
Yep.
Way less. There's still some.
Yeah, there's still some, but in general,
less of that.
Yeah. So you don't have kind of that lawless aspect of it. But again, it's kind of it's evolved a bit over the years, and it's still kind of the end of it ends up just being a big dance party, which you gotta love the Spanish. They know how to have a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that stage is always fun. We've always got like unique music coming from all over the world playing on that stage.
Do you have some Do you have some favorite moments from Spanish that or Barcelona that stand out that you can talk about?
Nice caveat.
The years have been beautiful. People have treated me amazingly out in Spain. I'd say, hosting some of the very first Masters of Rosin competitions out in Spain were a highlight of my time out there. I mean, even just eating, at some of the really amazing restaurants.
Which we're going to get into a little bit in a couple minutes.
The food out there is amazing. Those little baby squids. I've met some just amazing friends over the years,
Yeah.
So I think hanging out with that crew is just a good time for me. They're peers of mine, they're mentors of mine, they're friends of mine out there. And the social club environment really brought me in. People really treated me, like a king out there.
Right.
I remember one of the first times I was hanging out at La Colada. This was one of the most amazing experiences for sure. And they just start bringing me platters of food.
You're
like just bringing me stuff like, it was just like over the top. And so forever, I've got all kinds of love in my heart for those boys and girls over there.
And we're lucky when we get to travel like this because you get an inside look. It's, you're technically a tourist, I suppose, but reality is it's not the tourist experience. You're getting that kind of welcoming, type of thing where you really can't pay for those type of experiences, so when you get brought in like that, and it's a massive blessing, and I know a lot of times people are like, oh, you have to travel for work and that must be crazy. And it's like, yeah, it is. But the reality is like, I see a different view that anybody would ever see going to these places. I always have you always got a local handler, you know what I mean? It's always getting picked up at the airport from the local handler. And then you're seeing life through that lens, you know what I mean? So it's truly a blessing, and the Spanish people are wonderful. And I can honestly say I'm very excited for Gabe to come over there. I'm excited, to be able to show him and just walk through and, the Gotha quarter.
It's been a big one. I'm an architectural nerd.
So love it.
Oh, he's gonna
gaudy stuff. Yeah.
Now, obviously, I'm sure you've been to Sagrada, and I'm sure you've done some stuff. Like when you're doing this many events, do you feel like you've had enough time to really see the city? I mean, because there is some wonderful, wonderful museums, whether it's, the Barcelona Museum of History or the Catalonia.
Anne Frank Museum.
Yeah, I mean, there's
an Anne Frank Museum in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's the Picasso Museum. There's just a million things. I mean, I think I went and saw 4 different ones. Oh, yeah. That's right down the Gotha quarter. Cool, you know what I mean? So
there's sex museums, like whatever you're into.
Whatever you're into, it's there. It's there. It's there.
The museum exists. Talk to us about, have you done many competitions over there or collabs with some people? Have you won? How's the competition scene been for you? Because I know you're a judge in a lot of competitions. You judge all over the world.
It's real. I don't think I've actually entered a competition in Spain. I, been pretty heavily watched, and I don't really, it's difficult for me to produce something in Spain that's like my own. And then it's difficult for the Solve and the Stork to make it that far, to be honest. So,
it is. It's difficult.
I have done collaborations though. So big up La Sagrada fam, because we did a collaboration way back in the day. The photos went so viral that everyone started using them. These photos of like heads,
right?
Of pure trichome.
Right.
Everyone used them. And, the La Sagrada fam got a little upset with me, and I'm like, oh, I can't control it. They were such beautiful photos. And I believe it was Terps plates, or not Terps plates. Oh man, what's the gentleman's name? I feel like I was just with him in Canary Islands. But a mutual friend took those shots, and he was upset because everyone's using them, not crediting him, not crediting La Sagrada. People are crediting me, and I'm like, fuck, like this guy, came from
not my fault,
my hands. Yeah, but it was tough, because it was not controlled by me. But that collaboration did really well. So big up La Sagrada.
It's funny because as we're going through this, I guess I never really looked at, generally I look into the laws in the countries I'm going to. But I had assumed it was like pretty legal there. you know, and
It's pretty tolerated.
But the second you walk outside of a shop, it's not.
It's not.
You shouldn't be smoking on the street.
Right.
Like smoke in front of your hotel, sure, no problems. You know, smoke maybe a
me and
spliff
this guy go everywhere smoking
outside of the restaurant, but like be careful. you know?
And you're totally right. And you're totally right. I mean, it's definitely, and I will say, Gabe, I had that
Americans,
same
you're
kind of.
smoking like a pure joint. Or some shit.
They're
Like,
going to smell that all the way across.
Okay.
All the way across the Gothic quarter.
I like smoking hog legs.
I mean, you know, people do it, and when the Americans come into town, they do it. But be careful. You know, I wouldn't do it in a car. I wouldn't
definitely
do it anywhere close to a social club. Don't do it outside the social club because that's now affecting the social club, and you're gonna
Good point.
Good tips.
If you're leaving a social club, don't leave with more than 3 grams.
Nope. Yep.
Is that what's kind of
3 to 5 grams? I'd say. I don't know the exact.
No, but I would say I agree
hash,
with that.
like a gram of hash.
A couple grams of hash.
Yeah.
Just don't have like
I need to know for
15
myself.
to 20.
No, he's
all in the same packaging. You know what I mean? Don't have a big baller jar on you.
right.
You know, unless you like have one destination. Oops. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, dude. This is why we're having you on, because I need a little bit of coaching myself.
No, he's spot on with all that. And reality is, you know, and
each year it gets worse. I'm not trying to make you paranoid, but there are going to be raids at the social clubs where you feel safe in, because when I first went out there, I was told that social clubs are really protected. It's
right.
You know, they came
Safe
from
space.
original laws from back in like the 1960s, I believe, when they were creating laws to protect dealers of sorts, jug dealers.
Sure.
And you know, that's kind of where those laws stem from. And it's, I was told that it's very protected, you know, so once you're in there, but now I've seen raids happen.
Oh yeah.
Where, you know, they're coming in and they're pulling people out, and they're getting people in a line out front.
Do you think they'll ever legalize in Spain? And how do you think that'll affect that? So
I don't even know if there's really a legalization push currently, but go on.
I don't know exactly what's happening with that. You know, I think as we move, more and more countries are seeing the tax benefits and everything else that comes with freeing it up. So hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you know, I look at it with somewhere where, you know, you have tourism there, you have worldwide tourism, you have a tradition of it. You know, you would think that would be something that they would look at and say, hey, you know, this is a place that we can monetize. And, but up to this point, you know, it seems to pretty much been left to the club model. So,
yeah, I mean, look, if it works, and
yeah, be respectful to their laws. I'd say, you know, as a, you know, episode talking about going to Spain, like we should really be respectful to their laws. Don't talk about buying anything, you know, in these social clubs. Don't be loud about it when you leave the social club. Just like, you know, if you're buying weed from an old school dealer, you're not yelling, shit. Oh, this shit's fire right when you walk outside of his house. Like, it's pretty rude, bro. You know what I mean?
It's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Some people forget what it's like to have a dealer. You know
well,
I mean?
Just be respectful. I'd say it's a big thing out in Spain, especially if we're promoting Americans go out there, you know, spend money and be respectful.
There you go. That I mean, and I think that's a great piece of advice, because a lot of times people just go out and they want the same thing what's in their backyard. And I think people have forgot a little bit because they've lived in legalization for so long that it's like they forgot this, what would be considered to be polite, not saying, holy, smell this as you walk out your homie's front door. But like, you know, poke myself in the eye.
We forget these
still
things.
Smack up friends.
Like, shut up, loser.
Let's talk about, I want to actually end up with some of the events you're going to be at, just because, you know, people can kind of leave this and really know where you're going to be at. So let's, favorite sites to see. What are your top 3 things to see in Barcelona?
Oh man.
So we've talked about the social clubs and everything else, but like outside of that, cultural things, stuff like that.
You know, social clubs, the restaurants, you know, I love
just in general,
freeing
right?
up and like going, to a nice brunch or going to a nice late dinner. You know, the late dinner, drinking wine with the homies and stuff is
I was seeing lunch.
Really what
lunch
it's all
is
about.
like 2:00, and then dinner's like 8, 9, 10 o'clock.
11, 12.
11.
Okay.
And, you know, I love going to the dance clubs too. Sao Paulo and clubs like that are like some of my favorite things.
That's a big scene. Yeah.
Going to the Gaudi, you know, going to La Sagrada.
Oh man, Sagrada Familia. That's
beautiful and
insane.
how detailed, you know, those buildings are.
Yep.
I like to walk the entire city. So there's a few cool hill spots like up towards La Colada and up towards the Plug. There's another Plug location over there. There's a cool little hill spot. You can look up above the city a little bit and just, get out, get some fresh air. What else do I really enjoy doing? If you get lucky enough to get invited to some of these off Spannabis events, go check them out because they're oftentimes in like really amazing castles and stuff, like 45 minutes outside the city.
Yep. And that's what I've always had because I've always worked Spannabis. It's tough to, it's these are events that I've known of for years, but like haven't really had a chance to take advantage of because it's just everything's such a long day. Dinner's so late. These things are way out there, it's, but
go hit a local
advice.
tailor, a local clothing, a local designer. Go hit like one of those little local design shops and just find something that nobody else is going to have in the US. I like doing that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Like one piece a year.
One piece a year.
One piece a year.
Why don't we roll that right into food? Give us your food guide if you've got some favorite places. What do you got?
Man, there's like little hidden gems like this spot Floripa. I don't know if it's still there anymore, but it was kind of like a Caribbean Latin influenced fusion restaurant that was really, really fire. There's like this other little small spot called Salmsax, and it was very farm to table-esque and no like hidden dairy and things like that, and really homely spot. And then you get into like, I'd say high-end, fancier spots like Sarah 23 and like Bar Canete are really, really popular, spots. Some of the paella spots, like find a local paella spot.
Sure.
Or the seafood spots. I love, one of my favorite restaurants is Teresa E. Carl's, and it's a vegan restaurant, all plant-based, a little bit higher end, and the service is amazing. The food is amazing every single time. I brought people there that are not vegan, and I brought in a non-vegan Italian guy and he got cacio e pepe, right?
Ooh,
he said it was one of the best cacio e pepes he's ever had.
All right.
I don't think I even pronounced that right.
But I knew it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Dude, I'm excited. I'm going to go back and watch the episode just so I have all the notes.
And I think, and obviously I always love going and going to Bucharest and just walking the market and popping in these little stalls and just like being adventurous and just like
fresh bread.
Dude, yeah. And I like being on the move in that city and just ducking in a little spot. I mean, I like the box style tapas. It's a little bit different. It's North Country style tapas. And then like I've been to Kemet, which is a pretty famous, very super Catalan style tapas place. I went with a good friend of mine. Shout out to Danny, very good friend of mine, born and raised Catalan. He's was with Greenhouse for a long time. So, years ago introduced me to the city and got to see
is that your buddy in Puerto Rico?
No, that's actually that's Dan. Yeah, different Dan. This is Dan. Yeah. Danny formerly with Greenhouse. He does a lot of consulting and whatnot out there these days. But yeah, Joe Annette, that's another one that's right in the Gothic quarter. That one's a very, cool one.
One other spot I'm spacing that David brought me to. It's like right around the corner from HQ. And
but there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those cities, like a New York or like a Amsterdam or like anywhere where you're like, I could eat every day at a different place and not get anywhere in a month. You know what I mean? And just, but yeah, I love, just a local jamon. It's just like, ooh, give me a little jamon, a little pan con tomato, a little brewski, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, the wine out there is cheap and amazing. Every bottle of wine. One of my other favorite, spots the Italian family has brought me to every single year, and it's called Jaime. And I might not even be pronouncing that right, but it's like Xemei or something.
Oh, that's a rough one. That's a rough one.
And it's one of the best Italian meals I've ever had in my life. The squid ink pasta and like some of the dishes over there, and just the way that they treat you. Plus, like if you go with the right crew, you can oftentimes, do a little while you're eating, and it's
risky.
Nice.
Yeah. So why don't you tell, because we wanted to give you a little bit of an opportunity to let people know where you're going to be at. You got a number of events planned. You get in March 7th, I believe. You got about a 10-day run there. So why don't you let people know where you're going to be at?
Yeah, last year I was at a lot of different places. This year I tried to slow it down, but as we get closer, it starts stacking on.
You just keep booking up events, bro. You were like, bro, I'm going to send you the list.
I might have to reference the list. My list here. But I get in on the 7th. By the 8th, I'm at the High Secret Cup. They generally rent out an amazing castle, and it's a vibe for sure. And I'm blessed to DJ that event, and
excellent.
I might even judge as well. And then March 9th, our buddy Slight has this hash theory dinner. So it's like a bunch of the family gets together for this amazing dinner. And
infused dinner?
No, but oftentimes
pairings?
you can do a little consumption.
Okay.
Natural pairings. Just
Fluid pairings. I like it.
And there might actually be pairings, to be completely honest with you. Yeah.
Got to be there to know, I guess.
Yeah. So I always get so stoned I forget what happens over at those dinners. He's also doing a little secret box launch the night after that dinner.
Nice.
Then March 12th, there's the Ego Clash. I'm going to probably DJ a few tunes at the Ego Clash. They also rent out an amazing property, 45 minutes or so outside of town. It's a vibe for sure. The local really pull up.
And Brandon's hardcore, man. He's one of the real ones.
And sometimes Brandon doesn't even pull up, but the locals pull up.
Right. Yeah. Right.
The locals pull up. And our good friend helps to produce that.
Nice. Well, maybe we'll make
the Ego Clash out in Barcelona.
Killer.
And then we are holding a Gangier brunch on March 14th, tentatively. So all the Gangier family from around the world is going to kind of get together.
Nice.
And big up Mascote Rolling Papers, Dominic and the family over there for kind of bringing it all together. Our buddy Alex, our chef, What the Damn Health, High Society, the whole High Society family is going to be out
very nice
in Barcelona.
That's going to be
we're going to all kind of gather up for a brunch. Then I've got the Terp Tower Invitational on the 16th. There's going to be a lot of events that have to do with the Terp Tower Invitational leading up to it, but I will be announcing the awards for the Terp Tower Invitational. I don't know if the Dabadoo is actually having a cup this year. They might have more of a sesh, but I'm generally involved in the Dabadoo sesh. So big up Mila, the hash queen, the reason I'm here for real. And then I'm going to probably be DJing at La Colada. And I'm going to really just touch base with all those other social clubs that we mentioned earlier.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Well, for not having a busy schedule, you got a busy schedule.
Keeping it good.
There's probably a few others that I neglected to mention. This year, they're doing a Mother Cup. It's got a bunch of the women in the industry.
Cool.
I'll judge in that one. So big up the Mother Cup. I believe that's going to be at Cookies, Barcelona. And then you've also got the Organic Cup is another one that I've judged and hosted in the past. And actually, I don't know if maybe I said a few things on the mic at an Organic Cup. Either way, it starts
all the blend together. Well, hopefully we end up seeing and crossing paths a few times and doing some of these events with you as well. And, we're going to be out there kind of bounce around ourselves. You'll definitely see us at Cannabis, and then we're going to be hitting the events and whatnot, kind of in and around some of the evening stuff and, all that good and fun Barcelona stuff. So
hell yeah. And big up Cannabis. I'll be there just kind of hanging out. They've kind of made me a ambassador, which is a blessing. I apply every year, and it's always kind of a surprise to me. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. So I'll be hanging out at Cannabis.
Fantastic. No, congrats on
smoking
that.
Smoking a lot of fucking weed. I'm going to be getting high with my family. So we oftentimes have chillum circles. So look out for like people gathered in like a tight circle. That's going to be more like your chillum family.
Nice.
There's going to be circles everywhere, but look for the big chillums, Jonas chillums.
Little bonus tip for everybody. Look for the circle up. Look for the chillum circles.
Like Dank Duchess circling up. You're going to see, the La Colada family will join in on chillum sesh. And there's like certain crews that really enjoy that. And it kind of brings us together and helps ground us. There's Baba Co. Baba Co is going to be out there in the chillum sesh for sure. He's a journalist that, travels around, but he's got some crazy insight into stuff that Americans don't get access to. So try and meet Baba Co in a chillum sesh.
All right. That's literally a good tip there. There's your final tip.
Things to do, dude.
There is your final tip, everybody. Nick, thank you so much for coming out. It's always a pleasure having you in studio. Glad to see that you're staying busy and keeping it rocking. I look forward to hanging out with you in Barcelona and meeting some of your people out there. And man, it should be a great time.
And I look forward to seeing the finished product on this Dulce you just ran for me. She was dumping. So hell yeah, bro. We appreciate you as always. Great having you come in today, and everybody stay safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Till next time, from the Jug Den. See you guys later.
Peace.
Appreciate it.